it seems we might have an indication on sales for PSVR2 from a website called counterpointresearch.com. They've released a graph, and unfortunately their sources are paywalled, but there seems to be a graph detailing shipments of VR headsets over the last year, showing the market share split between Meta, Sony, Pico, and others. And besides just showing us some cool market details, like how the standalone market had a hold of 79% in the last year compared to 94% in the year before, it also allows us to take a look at the PSVR2 market share overall and compare that to the stats that we know from launch to actually have a guesstimate at how many headsets have been sold and talk about Sony's strategy for pushing this thing and where they might have gone wrong. I'll link the PSVR Reddit thread where everybody's talking about it below so you can go and have a look, but there's a lot of interesting things to discuss here, but let's start with the main points. The biggest takeaway here is that a lot of people are looking at this graph and managing to kind of figure out how many headsets have been sold. So in the first quarter here, we have Sony at 33% of the market share. It was reported that 600,000 headsets have been sold in the first 6 weeks for PSVR2, so people are kind of thinking that in this quarter, if we multiply that, that kind of ends up as 2 million headsets sold over the course of the first year. That would be a pretty damn good number in my opinion, and I think Sony should probably be happy with that if that is ending up being the case. However, there's one caveat to this. While we can kind of guess where the headset metric is at right now, this graph is not really a stable metric all the way through. It's done by market share, not by a set number. So 33% of market share in Q1 wouldn't be the same as 33% of market share in Q2 because the overall number of headsets fluctuate per quarter. So we're not getting the same amount of headsets sold overall in Q1 as we are in Q2, meaning that even though the percentages are the same, the numbers would not be. However, some people are still thinking this ends up at about 2 million headsets sold. The actual developer for Legendary Tales has chimed in and said that they think we're more about 1.4, 1.3 million headsets sold, which I personally think is a pretty damn good number in terms of attachment rate. For such an expensive headset, I think Sony would have made a decent amount of money off that, especially with game sales as well, because even small indie games seem to have successes. One recent one was Suicide Guy VR, where the developer came out and said they sold 10,000 units and that game didn't even break the top 20 most sold PSVR2 games of that month. So I'd say that there is actually a fair amount of success to be found here, which is awesome to see. However, you can see in the graph that Meta still has a big stranglehold over the market because they are cheaper, they are standalone, you don't need anything else to play with, and especially in the holiday season in Q4, as you can see, Sony didn't really have a holiday push for this headset. They didn't reduce the price, they didn't put out any holiday promos, and Quest did, so you can see that market share really go in favor of the Quest headsets, which I think that was a big oversight from Sony. I think that was a big blunder, but it is what it is. Can't do anything about it now. Hopefully 2024, in terms of the Christmas period, will have a lot more marketing and a lot more of a push for this VR headset. Another thing to keep in mind here as well that might not make this that accurate is that because the source here is paywalled, it could be an Amazon shipment source, meaning that all of the PlayStation Direct sales are not included in this. So the PSVR2 sales reported here could actually be much higher because of this omitting PS Direct potentially. So I'd take this graph with a grain of salt in terms of giving away the entire sales numbers of the PSVR2, and I'm more leaning towards maybe the guesstimate from the Legendary Tales developers, saying how there's probably around 1 to 1.3 million headsets sold, which again, personally I think is completely fine. But it's also going to be interesting to see whether the dip in Q4 that we see on the graph is going to be a temporary one just for Christmas, or whether or not it'll pick up in Q1 of 2024. I honestly don't know. Hopefully Sony will push it a little bit more. We've been seeing a couple more ads in the first couple months of 2024 for the PSVR2, so maybe that'll help boost the sales a little bit more. And of course, we got the PCVR announcement, which I'm sure has done some good wonders for the headset in terms of sales. And when that actually gets released, we could be looking at a far bigger domination for PSVR2 in terms of sales overall in the VR market. That's all I've got to say about this really. Some of this might be accurate, some of this might not be accurate in terms of data and metrics, but it is interesting to see the sales figures of a headset like the PSVR2 in comparison to the Quest in terms of market share, which is what we can see here. Anyway, what do you all think about this for PSVR2 in terms of news? Do you think this is accurate? Do you think we've sold under 2 million units, over 2 million units? I'm interested to see what you think. Do you even care? Because to be honest, I get it. A lot of people do not care about sales figures. I'm only partially invested because I'm a creator for this platform, but on the other hand, I'm just enjoying the headset as is, and to be honest, metrics like these don't really draw me in or worry me that much, but it is interesting to take a look at anyway. I've also got to say a big thank you to our patrons, Luke Bentley, Ace Gamer, Hazit Mirza, And as of today, Philip Irving, all of you guys keep the channel going and make me able to do what I do day after day. If you want to join the YouTube membership or Patreon, the link is in the description, starting and ending at $3 a month. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.